And with that, we bring on a friend of the program, I think our most featured guest that we've ever had, Andy Staples. Andy, it is an absolute pleasure to have you back.
Gentlemen, I am pleased. I saw the clip of Stephen Harris talking about the birthday cake.
Yeah.
Which is one of the funniest. Like, just remembering the dynamics of that 2006 team and how important like Stephen Harris and Joe Cohen and those guys were, and they're bringing a birthday. If you haven't seen it, everybody, if it's a Flow Factory episode, it's amazing. So
that's hilarious. Tim Tebow and Stephen Harris have the same birthday, so they was bringing out a cake. It's Stephen Harris senior year, fifth year senior. Tebow's a freshman. They're bringing out a cake. He thinks the cake's for him, and then it's actually for Tebow. Whole team erupts because it's for Tebow, and he just felt left out. It was pretty funny. Y'all go check that out. What's up, Andy? How's it going, man?
I'm here. I'm here. It's been a day. So
that's what I heard.
Yeah, I was supposed to join you guys late because we were. I was gonna have to pick my son up for football practice. I got the phone call no parent wants, where you see the head coach's number pop up when you know practice is going on, and it's like, what do we got here? And it is a concussion, so we're in the protocol. So gotta work through that. Season openers next week in the protocol.
How creeped out are you of head injuries in football dealing with your son? Because I deal with the same thing. I'm creeped out.
Yeah, very, because I had him in a more barbaric time in the 90s when they're just like whatever, and I know exactly when I had concussions. Like you read up on it enough, you can pinpoint every moment you had something. So like I'm just glad because his offensive line coach handled it really well, noticed something was off, told the trainer was immediately, doing what he needed to do. They've already given us all the steps that need to be taken. And it was just the head coach was super supportive. So because that was my biggest thing. Like he's been playing tackle football since middle school, and he's going to sophomore year of high school. And I wasn't going to let him play initially early. I was going to wait until he was in high school, because I just wanted to know, how do you handle head injuries? And I remember just grilling the coach about that before I let him play in 6th grade. And, because I've seen them at his school doing it for years. They do it right. So I'm glad.
I got a question for you, Andy. I noticed, so Florida, they've put since spring, everyone has, except for the specialists and quarterbacks who are no touch, wear the Guardian cap. This year they put
and he was wearing one today.
Yeah.
It's just one of the weird things, like making a tackle, and it fell backward and hit his head on the ground. And the grounds, those are the ones that'll get you.
Yeah.
So
not even like the helmet, the head hitting the ground kind of.
Right.
Yep.
Do you think somebody at practice proposed the question? Do you think, now I see Florida's got the stickers on them and everything, and you've seen some NFL teams allowing guys to wear them in games. Do you see a point where they're mandated to wear in game?
I can see it. It's interesting because a lot of the players just don't want it. Like I know, like the high school kids are like, oh no, we got to look good on game day, and being a bobblehead just doesn't look right. But my thing is, it's a great game. It teaches so much. It's so valuable. If that's what it takes to keep playing it, sure. Like we'll get used to anything.
Yeah.
I mean, if everyone's wearing it and it's 22 bobbleheads on the field, you're not the only one.
Exactly. Well, and look, I mean, they wear it at practice all the time, like because it's required. Like there's no I forgot my Guardian cap. Like you wear it.
Yeah, and things are going to change, and times are going to change, and if we should change, right? As technology gets better, as education gets better, as medicine gets better, all of that. So we should change. But I'll let the doctors and teams decide. I have no knowledge. I never played football. Well, I take that back. I never played tackle football. I was an illustrious intramural.
Were you like that Team USA flag football quarterback? Is like, these dudes don't understand this game.
Oh no,
I was a hockey player. You can't just plant Patrick Mahomes on Team USA flag football.
I was a hockey player. Yeah, no, I've got some.
He has a point.
The NHL.
He has a point. Andy, when I first came home from college football, I went out to go play flag football against these old plumbers, and me and all my boys was fresh out of college, and they ran us off the field. electricians, mailmen with beer bellies.
Oh yeah,
family of 8, and they ran.
they're
us off
running
the field
plays.
with
They
no
probably did they have
athleticism.
wristbands? Did they have play sheet wristbands?
Oh, for sure. They had sheets
Oh, yeah.
and all that, bro.
Yeah, they had 3 hook and ladders ready on that first play.
So
correct.
when I stopped playing football, when I had to go start working for the Alligator and find ways to financially support myself, I was a flag football ref at UF for a little while, and man, I'm not sure what's nastier, the fraternity games, the sorority games.
Oh, those sorority games could get nasty.
You're gonna get screamed at either way.
Yeah.
I think I'd rather get screamed at by the frat guys.
Well, I can assure you, Andy, I never had a reason to scream at the ref. They always called our games proper and always allowed no interceptions to happen. Let's get into Florida Gator talk. It's always good to catch up with you, Andy. Coaches poll comes out today. Gators 17. I think before, a couple months ago, we thought Gators somewhere, I think we said somewhere between 15 and 20. So, right smack dab in the middle. What are your thoughts on that 17 ranking?
I am of the mind that like you got to go one of two ways with Florida,
either
like 10th or unranked. And because I think it's a case of, is DJ healthy all season? Does he play up to his potential? If he is, you're talking about maybe a playoff team. So that's where you'd say like 10, 11, something like that. If he's not, I think that schedule's so hard that they don't end up in a position where they'd be ranked. So like it feels like there's no middle ground with them.
It's like Billy Napier's entire career so far has been like these not middle ground situations, right?
It's unbelievable.
At least I just learned this week that the University of Long Island's not in Long Island. It's in Brooklyn. I feel hoodwinked and bamboozled.
Also Manhattan, which knocked Florida out of the 2004 NCAA tournament, not in Manhattan.
Of course not.
So I think it's in the Bronx.
Yeah.
To me, I was going through it on another show, but I think I've said a ceiling of like 10-2 with a healthy DJ Lagway. And I've said multiple times, I feel like a healthy DJ Lagway gives Florida a chance on any Saturday. Give me
my thing with Florida is if Florida can go 8-4 against this schedule, they can go 10-2 or 11-1 against this schedule.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if you're in the games against teams that are going to be playoff teams and you can win them, then anything's possible.
Yeah, I was on a podcast yesterday. My comment was, I don't really see how Florida, barring an injury to DJ Lagway or barring massive injuries like they've had, a decade or so ago, I think it's going to be tough for this team to win less or to not win at least 6 games just based on the schedule. But there's just so many 50-50 games where I'm like, well, if Florida does what they should do, I think they are more talented. I think that Florida is a more talented team about what we think about them, probably more than anything, because there's a lot of new guys and people that are now becoming starters that were like, man, they really flashed when they were, backups, and now they're going to have a full year to show what they have. But, I like Nick. I think that Florida is more likely. This is a question that's posited. Is Florida more likely to go 10-2 or 6-6? And I think that they're more likely to go 10-2 than 6-6.
If DJ's healthy, because if it's what we saw at the end of the last season on both lines of scrimmage, they're capable of beating anybody in this schedule. And so you do have to have some injury luck, like where Florida could get really unlucky if they had some interior D-line injuries. That would be really bad. If they had like an edge rusher go down, okay, they're deep there. They'd be okay. Certain spots on the offensive line, you don't want to lose. Obviously, you don't want to lose like Jake Slaughter. You don't want to lose Austin Barber. But if they are healthy, generally, I think this team can play with anybody. And if it's what we saw at the end of last season, and it's interesting to me because this was the same line of scrimmage group that got pushed around by Miami and Texas A&M. But they go play against Ole Miss, which had maybe the best D-line in the country, and they look great. The D-line has 6 sacks against LSU, which was not giving up sacks all season. So it's weird to me because they did something last year that I just don't remember ever seeing before. You don't usually see a team get better on the line of scrimmage as the season goes on against tough competition.
Mhm.
Like, so that's what, and you know, you saw it against Georgia too. Like, remember they're in the game in the fourth quarter with Aiden Warner and at quarterback. So I do think if they're mostly healthy, and like if they had a kind of normal power conference schedule, even if DJ wasn't fully healthy, I think you'd be talking about an 8-9 win team.
Mhm.
But because it's this schedule, and there's a few teams dealing with this. I think Oklahoma has to deal with this too.
Mhm.
Their schedule is just disgusting. Mississippi State schedule is awful, but they're not equipped to deal with it, unfortunately. But that's the thing, that it's this particular schedule that makes it so boom or bust.
Well, when I go through it, I've said a bunch of times, like, we'll know who Florida is night of October 11th. That is the Texas A&M game, because you get the Brooklyn Sharks, then South Florida, but then it's at LSU, at Miami. I think we do this every year. Like, we hype Miami up. We hype Miami up. I've never been really a big Carson Beck believer.
I don't know about Carson Beck's coming off a surgery too, but he will have played a couple games. They will already played an elite team in Notre Dame. So we'll have a really good idea of what they are. I think when you've got a good offensive line, it takes care of a lot of other things.
Mhm.
Miami's going to have a good offensive line. So is their defense better than it was last year? Because, Florida's humming on offense. Last year's version of the Miami defense, they're not going to be able to handle that. But if they're better, then that's a different story. And they got the coordinator from Minnesota. They went and got a bunch of guys out of the portal. They still have some good players, like Ruben Bain should be back and healthy this year, and Akeem Messidor's back. So they should be better on defense. But I think the LSU game's critical. That stretch of
game.
Yeah, LSU, Miami,
Texas
A&M. I think they got to go 2-2.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's a problem.
The schedule is pretty front loaded, though. Like, obviously, Mississippi State is after that. Texas A&M, you get a bye week before Georgia, but then after that, it's Kentucky, Ole Miss, both road games, but Kentucky and Ole Miss, Tennessee, and then Florida State.
I would not sleep on. Well, you got Georgia too, but I would not sleep on Ole Miss. I think Austin Simmons is gonna be really good. I just. We saw a little bit last year. He obviously got thrown in a really stressful situation. The Georgia game looked awesome, but also just the way he handled being the backup and being around that team. He was clearly prepping to be the starter. Like, knew he was going to be the guy. Lane made it very clear who was going to be the guy. They didn't even sniff the portal at all. I think he's going to be pretty good. So that's one. Like, I think if SEC teams are looking at Ole Miss and saying that's an auto win, I talked to some LSU fans about this the other day. I was like, do not assume you're just going to go up to Oxford and beat Ole Miss,
Right?
Because it's not going to be easy.
I mean, I think the offense is going to be great regardless, right? They're always going to be able to put up points,
right? And the question is, how good are they on defense? Because they had some really elite talent last year, like Walter Nolan, but like guys they got like Chris Paul, who. There wasn't a lot of fanfare with him coming over from Arkansas, but he was awesome. He was such an important part of that defense. And so I think we don't know that yet because they've shown a good eye out of the portal, but if you build out of the portal, it's still a bit of a crapshoot about, how's the chemistry going to work? How are guys going to fit in? That's where I feel more confident about Florida because these guys have all played together. They've been through some stuff together. Like Clemson's the same way. All those guys have played together and they know, they've had ups and downs that they've been through. So you feel more confident in a veteran group that has been through some stuff.
You might, what if you get a situation like, I think a 9-3 Florida could sneak into the playoff with how
because
hard
of the schedule
is because of the schedule. But what if you get a situation where you've got, a middling Ole Miss? It's a total reverse of last season.
And they knock them out
going on the road with playoff aspirations, and you're only looking at Tennessee and FSU between you and a playoff. And
the biggest heartbreaker would be it'd be like a 2001 situation, except with Tennessee probably not being in a position to win the East. But if Tennessee were to come down in that last SEC game and do it, And obviously, they haven't won in the Swamp since 2003. So there's a little bit, it's dark magic at this point.
Yeah, don't.
Well, we're
don't put
blurring
that
out.
there,
We're
Andy.
blurring out quarterbacks at practice, Andy. I think we're.
That is my favorite thing that happened over the weekend.
Yeah,
my absolute favorite thing.
Yeah, the Smoky Mountains came down and just happened to block the view of the quarterback who threw it.
Buzzed it out.
Andy, what are you hearing from the safety spot? We lost Will Harris to Miami, or lose, or he left to go to Miami. However you want to work that. Will Harris goes to Miami. Venison Series is coaching that spot now. I like the starters with Bryce Thornton and Jordan Castell. After that, we get very young. Billy spoke about it today at his presser, saying that those guys got to grow up and develop quick as far as Lagunza, and also my guy Drake Stubbs, who had a good practice the other day as well. What are you hearing about that?
Yeah, Drake Stubbs is one I'm interested in because I remember talking to Billy on signing day about him, and they were so excited and thought, maybe he could come in and help right away. It's one of those things where you've got a new position coach, but it's not a new defense. So you have older guys who can help if you got to play a freshman in that spot. But yeah, I'm not really sure how that's going to work out. But that's another one. I mentioned interior D line earlier, where if your frontline guys go down, you're getting really young really fast. And so Benny Sinceri, I always I loved him as a player. Remember when he played at Alabama?
Pick 6 on Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, because it was one of those where his dad coaches there. Is that why they're recruiting? His brother had been a decent quarterback at Pittsburgh. His brother's now the OC at UCLA, Tino. But Vinny, you're like, okay, Vinny's coming in with all these monsters and these 5 stars, and Vinny was like a 3-star recruit, and he just tore it up and was kind of captain, leader, that type of guy.
First in, last out.
So I had a feeling. I'm not. I didn't say he was sneaky fast. He was fast.
Deceptively quick.
Listen. You start for Alabama in those days in the secondary. You ain't sneaky fast, coach on the field, gritty. You're fast. But you had a feeling if he wound up going into coaching that he was going to rise pretty quickly through the ranks. And, he was with Jed Fish last year in Washington. They liked him. I'm interested to see what this secondary looks like, because like you guys are saying, it's veteran up front, but then somebody twists an ankle, somebody that all of a sudden you're into some young dudes.
Yeah. It's a position.
They're willing to play it.
Sorry, it's a position that they ask a lot of mentally. So a guy like Drake Stubbs, you're kind of like, hey, you get thrown in there, and now you're the director of the movie. And
that's the thing I don't think a lot of people understand is how much communication is required, because every level of the defense has that those people who are required to communicate, but in the secondary, it's even harder because you've got to get to people quickly, and you've got to get stuff relayed from the linebackers to guys that are further out. And we did a thing a few years ago when I was at SI where we put GoPros. Florida let us put GoPros on the guys at practice. The amount of talking that those safeties have to do just on a play-to-play basis, I don't think the average fan understands. And that's where youth becomes a problem. That's where youth becomes an issue. Is not just I need to know what to do. It's I need to be able to tell the corner out here what I'm doing and what he needs to do because of that.
Right. And you've got to react to what the offense is putting out there, right? It's not like offense where you guys are just in a huddle deciding what to do, and then you throw it out there and you can make some adjustments. You can have your base defense, but then you've got to make moves on the fly, and you've got to know what to look out for. And
then you got like if you got the frontline guys who've played together for a long time, they'll have a shorthand, they'll be comfortable with each other, and they'll know exactly, each one already knows what he's doing, and then they can get a little more advanced as they see something, the offense doing something, they can get a little more advanced and say, okay, I'm going to do this. But yeah, that's where you get a little worried when you see potentially a true freshman having to come in right there.
Yeah.
And you also get to it's all right. Well, now I've effectively communicated, but I'm all in mentally on all of that. What's my assignment? Or hey, I accidentally miscommunicated to that guy. Now he gets beat. I'm where I'm supposed to be, but he's beat. And you're, there were a couple times.
Right. And do you keep doing what you're supposed to do? Do you try to bail somebody out, and which could cause another problem? Yeah. It's funny because when we watch what happens in the games and we're like, it's that guy's fault. Usually we don't know the whole picture.
No, I've started waiting to point fingers until I see who the player that I thought got beat is pointing at and talking to. I'm like, okay, that was
and that's Jeff Schwartz, who used to play offensive line in the NFL, does a lot of media stuff now. I remember talking to him about this, and he's like, you should never automatically blame an NFL offensive lineman for something, because you don't know the play and you don't know his rules and you don't know this. And he's like going down this list of all these things. Now, obviously, if it's a one-on-one situation on the edge, a guy gets beat. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. And it's the same thing with a safety. You don't know what he was supposed to be doing on that play. You don't know if he's trying to bail somebody else out. You don't know if he misread it or somebody else misread it. But that's why we talk to people after the games too.
Andy, I want to switch sides of the football here. We always do live fact checking, especially when somebody gives us money, and he wants to let us know that LIU is indeed on Long Island. I think this is the Brooklyn campus of Long Island University. Nick.
Oh,
I can see where your confusion comes.
I mean, from Long Island, you'd expect them to have room for a big campus and a football field. And
I'm telling you what, you'd also think USF would be in South Florida, but it is what it is. Life works in mysterious ways. Andy, I want to ask you about the wide receiver room. The Gators they get J. Michael Sturdivant from UCLA. Trey Wilson comes back. Aiden Mizell. They have a crop of folks that are waiting their opportunity to get on the field. And then you have three fantastic freshmen who I think are not looking to wait on the sideline.
No, they're not.
Darnell Brown and Dallas Wilson. How do you think that room shakes out? Maybe at the beginning of the year, and then ultimately, where do you think it ends up at the end of the year if you were to prognosticate?
Well, I think obviously you're expecting the most out of J. Mike, who's a veteran player who was very sought after in the portal. This is a guy that everybody liked. UCLA obviously was in a weird situation last year, where Chip Kelly bails and then Deshaun Foster gets put into that situation, a tough situation. But you expect him to play. I think this receiving corps should be better than Florida's last year, and that's not a knock on Kamir DK or on Elijah Badger. They were very good, but I think the ceiling on this one's quite a bit higher, especially when you go get a guy like Dallas Wilson. That's kind of what Florida was missing. I did a thing. It was actually because of Dallas Wilson flipping, because it got me thinking about receivers and the really good ones and the freaky ones. Ricky Pearsall's kind of a unicorn, where he transferred and then became a first rounder. Jordan Addison was a weird situation because he wins the Biletnikoff, but his OC left, his receivers coach left, his quarterback is gone. And after spring, he's just like, I don't want to play with these guys. For the most part, though, really good elite receivers who go on to be first-round draft picks do not transfer. They stay where they are. In the NIL era, schools pay them to stay. They make sure they keep them, and they don't go anywhere. Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams. Like Ryan Wingo didn't get to do much at Texas last year, but I bet he's going to be real good this year. And they made sure they kept him. Cam Coleman at Auburn. You got to get those freaky guys with the high ceilings. And the only way to get them is to get them out of high school. And I realized Dallas Wilson had signed with Oregon, but he didn't actually end up going to Oregon. He came to Florida. So I look at him as a true freshman, class of 26 signee. And that's the kind of player you've got to have that really Florida hasn't had. Kyle Pitts was that as a tight end.
Mm-hmm.
Just a freaky, unguardable player. But they have not had that at the receiver position. You guys help me out. I'm trying to think who that would have been.
we were talking about that when we did our live show.
I mean, I'm going to say
went-
Percy, but
we went.
I'm not
all the
going
way-
to. I'm not going to compare Dallas Wilson to Percy because that's not fair.
I went back to Andre Caldwell, and that was a long time ago. A highly sought after.
Andre DeBose was that.
Andre DeBose was that. It's just his career, got derailed by injuries, but he definitely was that when he was a freshman.
He was 5-star out of Stanford. He was the original next Percy Harvin.
Yeah. I think, Antonio Callaway had some flashes, some, preseason
Right.
hype about him, but again, a 4-star guy. I don't know. I mean, Demarcus Robinson was a 5-star guy, but you didn't expect him to come in and dominate right away. So I went back to Andre Caldwell. I could certainly be wrong, but that's about as far as I went back.
Percy's not even.
Percy's different, man.
He's a different species. Yeah. So yeah, Bubba Caldwell's good. Chad Jackson was actually a big recruiting win.
Yeah.
But again, we are talking about 20 years ago. So It's been a long time. But this is the kind of guy, like a big, rangy, quick receiver. Like Florida just hadn't had that.
The first time I saw Dallas Wilson up close, I was like, physically, this is what like a 4-star linebacker looks like. And then I saw him hit ladders and I saw him run routes, and I was like, oh, that's what a 5-star linebacker looks like. Like he's just different. And I spent some time before you got on crushing about Nashawn Montgomery, and I think VB3 is crazy shifty. He's shown great hands, but like Dallas Wilson just looks different.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing. Like, we'll see if this year's freshman class looks like last year's class. Jeremiah Smith's in a universe all his own.
Mm-hmm.
But you had Jeremiah Smith, you had Ryan Williams flashed early, kind of tailed off at the end of the season, but I suspect he's going to be really good this year. Cam Coleman kind of figured it out at the end of last season, and they put Eric Singleton with him, which I think is really going to be helpful for him because he's not going to be just the focus of the defense anymore. And so maybe Dallas Wilson is that for Florida. And it's interesting because, Oregon got DeCorian Moore too. And I think this probably has a lot to do with why Dallas Wilson is in Florida, because I don't think you get 2 of those guys in a year. I don't think in the NIL era you can do that. I think that the wealth's going to get spread.
With all these weapons we got at receiver, running backs, a lot of explosive, verified speed all over the field. You got a big arm with Lagway. What do you think this offense? How good can it be compared to like the rest of the country?
Oh, I think it could be very good because DJ makes it explosive, and I think people criticized Billy Napier's offense because he does want to run more than he wants to throw. But the things, if you have a guy like DJ, I think you do want to run the ball effectively because that does make it possible to have more explosive pass plays, more one-on-one matchups. DJ can throw guys open. And that's another thing Florida has not had the ability to do in a while. And, I think that's the thing that jumped out at you when he became the starter. Graham gets hurt against Tennessee. He becomes starter against Kentucky. You're watching him throw the ball before the receiver is even open. And then the receiver turns and there it is. Or he's put it in a place where only that guy can get it. Now, look, DJ also had some accuracy issues. Like you want a completions percentage higher than what he had last year. I think he was 58 at the end of the season.
Yeah.
And it was closer to 50 against SEC teams. So that part's got to go up. But I mean, like the Kentucky game's a great example of this. You saw the potential, but you also saw how raw he was. So imagine a little more refined version. Your offensive line's playing better and then blocking for a guy like Jaden Baugh.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, you're gaining 5 yards a carry. Defense has to put 7 in the box, minimum 8 in the box a lot of times because you're just slamming them up front. You're going to open up things on the outside over the middle. You're going to open that stuff up. And so that's why I'm much more confident in them as an offense than I was this time last year because, one, they have a quarterback who can make special throws, but also that offensive line has now shown that it can open holes. I mean, it's interesting. You go back to the Ole Miss game. The per carry numbers are not great, but it's the best per carry number anybody had against Ole Miss all year. So they definitely got better up front. And I think if they're running the ball, they're going to be really hard to stop as an offense. And that's say what you will about Billy Napier and his play calling. He doesn't abandon the run typically. He's not one of those. I know he frustrates you because he won't abandon the run.
Be down 3 scores. He's still running the joint, man.
If you want to see
the run,
but if you want to see the opposite of that, go to the LSU Florida game last year and look at what LSU did.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Sloan abandoned the run, and it's why Florida was teeing off on Garrett Nussmeier. They were actually running the ball okay, and they just stopped. They were like, "We're just going to throw it from here." And Ron Roberts is like, "Okay, we're coming after you then."
Andy, is this we were talking about this last week. Is this the most excited a Gator fan should be about the roster in maybe I mean, I think you look back to that COVID year, you didn't really know. I mean, I think you saw glimpses of Kyle Trask before. You weren't exactly sure if it would be the same. And there was some excitement, certainly a lot of question marks on defense. But, we were trying to think, when was the last time a Gator fan was this excited about the actual roster? Play calling, coaching aside.
You were always excited about the defense in the Muschamp era.
Yeah.
Because they were always loaded.
Offense.
Yeah. 2009?
Yeah. Yeah, 2009, 2010.
Because the 2012 team was really good.
Yeah.
But you didn't know what it was going to be offensively.
Yeah. On that same frame, we were literally just talking about it. I started covering the team in 2013, and I said, I don't think I've ever been this confident about an offensive line, a Florida offensive line heading into the year.
Yeah. Or a Florida defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree.
Going
with
back
you, Ron
to that,
Roberts.
now you saw some pretty good. In 2013, you were on the tail end of some pretty good ones.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think what they were at the end of last season should excite people because they'd figured it out. And I'll go back to it because I like. On signing day, I went to interview Billy Napier in his office, and I just apologized to him. I'm like, "I'm sorry, I said some terrible things about you," and like,
Corey,
you knew what you were doing. you were right.
Don't apologize yet, Andy.
Oh, I know. Listen.
Well, hold on.
This all could go to shit real quick, but.
3 a.m.
But the fact
Eastern,
of
that
the matter
Netflix
is-
documentary is coming out, which features a prominent role from Andy Staples. There might be more apologies coming. Who knows what he said?
I know because I basically apologize in it. I've already seen that episode. I know what I say.
I got to watch it.
Yeah, it's really good. See, I think the Florida people didn't like it, but I think it makes Napier look great because it shows how he kind of weathered the storm and kept the team together when everything could have fallen apart.
Yeah, man, they just don't like positive. They just don't like any sort of PR marketing.
Well,
It's a very weird. It's weird.
To tell the story, Dan, there has to be conflict. And it's PR people never understand this. PR people don't understand that, like, you don't get the pathos at the end of the story. You don't get the resolution unless you have some conflict in the middle.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's how you write a novel, right? You got to have the rising action, the falling action. You got to have a climax in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in this case, Florida's season was a movie script. Like, it was bad. And they were going to fire him. Like, that's not us making that up. Like, they were. And then they figured it out. So, but the thing, like, and this is what I told Billy.
I mean,
I remember going to his
prettiest, even like, I'm sorry, I mean to cut you off. It still wasn't the prettiest going down the stretch. Like, it's still like, while we improved, like the Florida State game we won, but it was a little choppy.
That wasn't pretty.
Tulane game was choppy, right? So it's still some, a lot to be desired there.
Fits and starts. But I will say, like, what I told Billy is I remember going to his coach's show before the UCF game, and he's talking about during the open date, they had the best practice he's seen in his career as a football coach. And I'm like, oh my God. This is the words on the epitaph. Like, this is
the violin on the Titanic.
And And then after the Ole Miss game, you're talking to players and they're like, yeah, we had this one practice in the open date before UCF. It was best practice ever. I'm like, oh, he wasn't bullshitting. Like that was real. And it was. So, but it's interesting because we talked to Dabo Sweeney on my show a few months ago, and he just made the point of like, I know what my team will be like when it faces adversity because most of this roster has faced adversity together.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that a lot of coaches can say that.
Yeah.
Dabo can say it. Billy Napier can say it. I think Kirby Smart can say it. I think, Ryan Day can probably say it, although this is a lot of really young guys that he's got to put in new positions. But I think Steve Sarkisian can probably say it. But it's true. Most of these rosters have so much turnover that you don't know what you got year to year. I think Billy probably has a fairly good idea what he has.
He mentioned it. I don't remember if it was SEC Media Days or Florida's Media Day right before fall camp, but he said, like, we put an emphasis on high school recruiting.
Yes.
And basically supplementing in the
I
portal
believe
year to year.
I believe there might be a nugget of that in the Netflix show too. So
way to promote the show.
They didn't even pay me. So
man, it's just like this podcast, except we don't have billions of dollars in market share. Who doesn't?
It was pretty funny. Like when I was, because I shot for it 3 times, and the first time I shot for it, I asked the guy, I was like, okay, so what am I supposed to wear? What's the dress code? Do I have to wear a suit? Or he's like, no, it doesn't have to be a suit or anything. Just, something you'd be comfortable with 50 million people seeing you. And I was like, oh,
very good.
So not like what I'd wear for my podcast. Okay. Got it.
Love it. Andy, we've kept you on for a long time. You guys have any final questions before we let Andy run? And man, we always appreciate you coming on the show.
No, last one. Does DJ make it to New York if he's healthy entire season?
I think there's a really good chance. I do. I think he's special. I was corrected. I was on a show, Carter Bryant, shout out to him, who he does an LSU centric show. He's really good. He had me on last week and he goes, you keep saying that DJ Lagway is has the best physical tools of any Florida quarterback in a long, long time, or maybe that you've ever seen. It's just true. And I have said that. And he's like, you're wrong on that. I was like, oh, okay. And I was thinking he was going to come up with, like he's like a big Shane Matthews believer, even though Shane was playing before he was born. He goes, you remember Cam Newton was on Florida's roster as a quarterback for 2 years? I'm like, touche.
Yeah.
You got me there.
Yeah.
So
what could have been, Andy, what could have been without the laptop. Anyway, Andy, we appreciate you coming on the show. Andy Staples with On3. Plug everything that you want, and then we'll see you next time, brother.
Yeah, Andy and Ari on 3. New episodes drop 3 p.m. every weekday. It's obviously on demand anytime at the On3 Sports YouTube channel. All my stories are at on3.com. Subscribe to Gators Online. And yeah, that's about it.
Awesome, Andy. We appreciate you for coming on again, my friend, and have a great college football year. And hopefully we'll get the chance to chat with you some point during the season.
Thank you, guys.
And best of luck to your
Appreciate it.
son. Of course, well wishes and prayers.